Yeah. Like, I think going into the spring, Tanner McKee and Michael Wilson are the best duo at quarterback and wideout in the league. Because they played a little together. Like, who else? Jaden Daniels and...
We're exempting the USC potential combination from that.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Right.
And even then, like the receivers that they brought in a young man from Oklahoma. I think he had 35 grabs last year. It's not like he had 70 catches. And
So
Caleb Williams,
the best returning combo.
yeah, like the one I'm most like. I think they will be lethal this fall. I believe in that. We'll see what other combos come up, but it's hard for me when I think about that. Because I think Tanner, every NFL scout would say the same thing. I think Tanner McKee. But there's a world, and I get in a lot of debates with college football people around DTR. He might be the guy that I would choose, and here's why. He played only his senior year at quarterback. So now in his life... High school, yeah. He's got 4-ish years of college, right? COVID, it was a shortened season, and a season in high school where they blew out every team, and he barely played in the fourth quarter. So he's got about, call it 5 years of quarterback experience. And I think when you look at his turnover numbers every year, when he's on, which, he's not perfect, but I just think his trajectory has constantly gone up. And as a DC in the league, you're like, damn, that guy, when he's on, he's scary. So part of me wants to say him.
Yeah. Competitor, we saw that hands down this past year. There's no
teammate.
No questioning that, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's not... I mean, we talk about it, but, as broadcasters, you walk out of the booth and you're like, all right, what do you really think? And it's not like during every game we called for UCLA, it was lights out, but they had moments, second half of Colorado game, right? He was incredible. I think it was his 21st or 22nd birthday that night.
Yeah.
So part of me wants to say him, part of me wants to say Jaden Daniels. Like, I want to see the next phase. Like, I'm so excited about him, but I don't know. Like,
so I'm going to ask you the next question because I think they are connected. And we didn't talk much about this during the season, but as I said, I thought the quarterback play in the conference wasn't where it needs to be. Wide receivers. See, I would say, who's the best wide receivers? Who has the best group of wide receivers coming back in the conference? I think, because we're talking about Jaden Daniels, who did he throw the ball to last year? Ricky Pearsall, nice job.
Yeah.
And Hodges, the tight end, became a reliable, very good target for him. The wide receivers...
Totally.
I mean, the other wide receivers, no. There was nothing there.
They had, remember the class they had too?
I know.
Right? It was like Jordan Porter, who's since transferred. It was
Johnny Wilson who's transferred.
Ocho Cinco's son.
They didn't do anything.
Chad Johnson's
right.
kid. Like,
didn't produce.
Yeah, so I'm with you. I did a study in advance of signing day where I was like, let me look at like some of the best receivers. Because what has shocked me is like Oregon hasn't had, like, who do you think about? Who's the best weapon in the passing game that Oregon's had in the last decade? DeAnthony Thomas. Right? Who's like hybrid type of player.
Yeah.
So I went through every team and I went through my list. I was like, all right, who are the best receivers at every team, right? SC easily is like the first team that you talk about, right? Whether it's Drake London this year, Marquise Lee, Robert Woods, like they have a bunch of guys. And you can name one or two guys pseudoly at every school. Arizona, you would say Austin Hill, possibly, or Caleb Jones, the transfer from Texas who came in and played well there. But nobody like jumps through the roof.
No.
But you can go to every school, right? ASU, N'Keal Harry, Brandon Ayuk, Oregon State, a bunch of guys. Go down the list. Cal, like they had Chad Hansen, who's still playing in the NFL. Stanford, of course, like Montgomery, Semi
Fahoku, and Arcega Whiteside. Right? Good receivers. And I guess where I'm going with this to me is, we're all watching Joe Burrow throw to Jamar Chase right now. The college connection that's now threatening to play in the Super Bowl. And I mean, we understand the SEC, but I'm saying that's the kind of game-breaking receivers that seem to multiply in the SEC. And I started thinking about that this week. Is that I'm kind of getting on the quarterback thing, but I'm going, it's the receiver thing too.
Yeah,
it's the receivers.
Well, right now, and we'll do it on the next pod. I'm going to go through and like rank my top players at every position in the league because some are still arriving. Brendan Rice transfers to SC. Very interesting. You look at a lot of Mel Tucker's class has transferred. I think there's something to that, right? I think Colorado's getting dinged a ton with guys leaving. Well, I think it's fair to say, well, they came there and they thought they were going to play for a different guy, and the circumstances and whatever they probably thought they were walking into may have altered. So I think Colorado's going to be in a really good position. With when you talk to their staff, what the players they're bringing in, they all want to be there. But to your point on the receivers, like it might be T-Mac, Tatoria McMillan. He's top player in California. Owned the Poly Bowl when he was just there. He's gonna be a true freshman. Like, so this year's class at wideout is pretty good. The portal's pretty good. But if you look at it, like who's the biggest threat coming into spring ball at wideout? I don't know, man.
You said Michael Wilson at Stanford.
Yeah,
if he's healthy, assuming he's healthy, and that's where I'm going. And that's something I hope that in the what. The signing's almost finished, and the portal, I'm not sure. There's probably still a couple of thousand people in there, but I'm hoping that that's position that we can identify a couple of,
I got receivers for you.
Wide receivers that impact games, that defensive coaches spend the week going to the game worried about, like they did about Drake London this year.
Yeah. So when we do the spring tour, I want to see the second and third year players that were huge recruits ball out. So Kyle Ford at SC. He was top 5 high school receiver I've ever seen at the Elite 11. I'm talking just mossing everybody. 2 knee injuries. How's he recovered? Can he finally be that guy? I look at Jalen McMillan, with top receivers in California. He's at UW, chose to stay there in this offense. Roma Dunzier, I think both of those can be all-conference wide receivers. 6'2", 6'4", can make plays. The offensive passing game, it's not a surprise, was relatively non-existent at Washington last year. I think that's going to be a total flip this year. Troy Franklin, one of those big players that kind of did some things for Oregon down the stretch. Can he finally be that guy? Devon Williams, another one. So I think there's some players that kind of I don't want to say in years past at running back, but when you were there's a lot of talent when you're an insider, but on the outside looking in, you're wondering who's the NFL prospects? I can't wait this spring to see some of those guys.
Yeah.